I just finished bedding all this in epoxy, and while I'm waiting on that epoxy to dry, I was just kind of cleaning up some edges and scraping it off the excess with my fingernail. But I don't like to take it out before it's set well. It tends to be gummy and stretchy, and it just doesn't set up that well. What I'm going to do is take the time to check and see if I've got this about equidistant. When I ground that off a while ago with that Fordham tool, I was just going by sight. I'm just looking down the middle of this and the middle of this and just taking some off each side. But now, I did check for the center line to make sure the barrels were lined up with it. So my center line is still correct, which means the outsides of this are still parallel. What I'm going to do is just put a straight edge, and I'm going to measure right here at this mounting screw, and I'm going to go down about halfway between top and bottom and just check and see how much it's gone in there. That's an 1/8 of an inch. And that's the same thing. That just lets me know I'm taking the same amount off of each side, and I'll keep doing that. Now, I pared this down next to that trigger guard, so I've got a little flat space I'm leaving, but I'm just taking off. I'm just killing time, really. I'm just smoothing up between here and that trigger guard. Now that I know I've taken off the same amount, this is still in the middle of this, I'm going to check and see how much more I have to take off. The original stock right at that mounting screw, which is where I measured, I'm still almost 1/4 of an inch bigger, wider here than this one. I don't intend to take it down as much as this one, the original. They always break because they're always too skinny, and they always break right there, and I'm just not going to do it. You're just setting yourself up for a broken stock, but I am going to take it down some. Customer wants this a 1/2 inch bigger than what it was. So I've got the front of this stock lined up with the front of the other stock, and I've got a mark where this pad is now. The overall length to the end of the pad's got to be a 1/2 inch bigger. So if I'm going to add a 1/2 to that, I don't have a 1/2 inch down here, but it'll be about right there. So if that's the back of the pad, the front of the pad is right there. So all I got to do is chop that off. That's my new length. I've showed this quite often on other videos, but I never know who's watching this one that's not seen the other ones. When you're putting on a new butt pad, you got to find the holes that they form, because they don't come pre-cut. So you take a punch and you poke it through there, and when you pull it back, it'll leave you a little round mark. You take a razor blade and you slice a vertical slit right in that round mark. take a little bitty drop of oil and put it on the middle of that, and you poke your screw in there, and that oil keeps from tearing that rubber. Now, I have a screw that I've been using for years to do this with, and it's got wax on it. Position this thing correctly. I'm going to get it where I want it, up and down. And then I'm going to make me a little more. That screw is sticking out just a little bit. I'm going to make me a lateral mark. Falkmeyer screws are all 1/8 of an inch pilot hole. Now I'm going to measure from center to center, see what this is. And I don't mark both of them at the same time, because that first hole might drift a little bit. Now I take my old starter screw and I'll run some threads in there. If you start threads, it makes it easier on these screws. I don't like stripping these out. I don't like to get any more turns on them than I absolutely have to have. So I'm very careful about pre-starting my pilot hole and making some threads in there where it's easier on these eventual screws. That oil that I got on that pad will lubricate this bit and keep the bit from tearing that up as well, because I got to punch that head down through there. Thing fits very, very flat. I don't see any light at all. I hold a light on one side and look through the other side to see if I see any light. There's no light at all. That's very, very, very flat. Still got my center line right there on that little comb. I'm still pretty close to it. But this thing's got a very tiny, very sharp comb. And it doesn't have a fluted comb. It's got a slight depression where flutes would have been if they were doing flutes back then. A very slight depression right there. I can imagine it looks like I'm sanding that piece of metal there, but there's about 20 thousandths between that wood and that metal, and I'm gonna stay away from it for right now. I don't want to do this bottom quite yet because I got a teeny bit of a center line there. I need to keep that for a while. I'm going to go up here and work on this this grip cap. This thing has a very, very, very tiny grip cap, and I've got to work this wood, which is very much bigger than this grip cap, down to the size of this plastic. It starts here with this rounding, and it rounds down to this shape of this itty bitty grip cap. The grip cap is actually part of the curve, part of the round knob, that it goes from this out bigger all the way around it, except for back here at this crease.